So even though I was super excited to get in, there was a sense of fear lingering. Their mind is just operating on a whole different echelon.
It came down to the fact Harvard's Harvard. I just wanted a lot of money.
That's when I felt really out of place.
There were billionaire freshmen there. We're in the same class. Like, why are you in Italy right now?
Yeah, and I think good evening, everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of the Khansquared podcast.
Woo!
We're having a good time today because we're going to be talking about our experiences going to elite colleges. I went to MIT.
Elite is a subjective word. I went to Harvard University.
I went to MIT and he went to that other school down the river. So we're going to be talking about our experiences. I'm not sure if his, really counts towards this episode, but I was kind enough to let him join for the conversation. So I think what we really want to talk about is what it was like just entering these universities compared to our high school experience especially, and talk a little bit about our expectations in high school versus what we actually experienced, what we got there, and then how we survived and what we experienced and whether or not it was worth it in the end.
And that includes academically, socially, financially, physically, all the
leads once again.
Yeah.
That is a callback to our last episode. Nice. Yeah. And if you haven't watched that, go do that right now.
It was a good episode.
It was.
And the new stew. You guys really like the new stew space.
It's nice. And you guys showed a lot of love in that last episode, so hopefully, you guys enjoyed this one.
Of course they did. You were begging for paragraph comments at the end. They felt bad.
I was. So on March 14th, 2017, a solid 8 years ago, almost a decade, I got into MIT. And I was super excited. I was jumping up and down, running all around the house, screaming I got into MIT. And the first reaction I got was from my father, who didn't really know what MIT was. Mom had heard about it. She was pretty excited. She knew that it was a good school. But the truth is, I feel like amongst immigrant parents, I think Harvard is the one school that has the most name recognition. And then
I don't know if you needed to clarify by saying immigrant parents. I just think in the world, Harvard has the most name recognition.
Yeah, that is also true. That is true. So even though I was super excited to get in, there was a sense of fear lingering, only because I knew that MIT is extremely rigorous. I had read multiple blogs and articles online about the course rigor at MIT, how students literally don't sleep. And I also read a few pieces about the mental health of students who go there. And, some of the pieces that I came across were a little bit alarming. And so it was like a mix of excitement, but also worry. I think more excitement.
When you got in at that time, was that your number one? Were you sure? Before that, you were already into Yale, right?
Yeah.
But when you got into MIT, Yale went out the window.
Yeah. As soon as I got the MIT acceptance, because I wanted to study computer science, I knew that it was the correct choice. Okay. I just didn't know if it immediately was going to be a comfortable / fitting choice for me. But I feel like an important turning point for me was CPW, which, if you guys don't know, is Campus Preview Weekend. This is the one weekend where admitted students get to visit campus, essentially just do a vibe check and see whether or not it's a good fit for you. And during CPW, my host, he was super friendly. He was also Pakistani. And I think the communities he introduced me to at MIT made me feel a little bit more comfortable about what my experience was actually going to be like. But I don't know, after you got into college, did you have a similar sort of feeling? Were you also intimidated, or do you think you had a better idea?
I got into Yale in December, and then I got into Harvard in March. And to be completely frank, I was just so relieved with just getting in that I wasn't thinking about, am I going to fit in yet? What are the academics going to be like? I was just riding that euphoria. But it wasn't until I went to Yale's visitation days, which they call Bulldog Days, and just met other people there that I kind of felt a bit of imposter syndrome, which is just a big thing tons of students feel. Just talking to some of the other students who got in, and coming from the background we came from, the small suburban school, I was a bit like, am I really cut out for this? But just that vibe, even at Harvard's visitation days called Visitas, visitation days are cool because you meet a lot of people and it's a chance to skip school, but it's also a bit overwhelming in a way.
It is, and you talking about Yale just reminded me, I also visited Yale, and I think I had a very similar experience.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're online, like searching up like profiles of admitted applicants to Yale or Harvard, you see a bunch of these crack kids, right? With ISIF, IMO, all these different accolades. But now for the first time, I was actually meeting them in person, and I realized, wow, these people are as smart in person as they are on paper. And you can tell some of them are just functioning just totally differently. And it was interesting for me because, so I got into Yale, and this is not to like flex or anything, but through a likely letter. And the likely letter was trying to cater to students interested in STEM. And so before
I think you have to better define what a likely letter is.
Fair. Okay, so a likely letter is a letter that a college will send you after you apply to let you know that you will most likely be accepted. It's essentially an early acceptance. And a lot of the Ivies do this. Harvard does it, Cornell does it.
Okay, but just to clear up the timeline, you applied December 31st to Yale, right? Or
I applied regular decision.
You were going to get your decision back end of March.
Correct.
When did you get the likely letter?
Thank you for clarifying the timeline here. This is good. Yeah, I got my likely letter early February.
So almost basically a month and a half earlier.
Yeah, about a month. Yeah, exactly.
Which is like crazy early.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes me curious about how fast these admissions officers actually do a first pass on the applications.
That's a good point. Because after your first pass, they probably just like fast tracked you. If you got it in February.
Yeah, and also like I feel like this is a whole different tangent, but I'm also wondering, right? Like, are they sending likely letters at the same exact time? Because if they are, that means they had to have vetted
by that point
the applicant pool by then.
All 50,000 first pass, at least.
All right, anyways, so
fair enough.
So I get the letter, and they invite me to something called the Yes Weekend, which is before Bulldog Days, and it's just for the STEM, like the STEM resources at Yale. Like they show you around the STEM stuff, try to get you excited about science at Yale, and that's when I really felt intimidated. Because the Bulldog Days, you have everyone, all the applicants, tons of smart kids. But now the kids who are getting likely letters, these were the
STEM,
actually cracked kids who had won all these Olympiads. And that's when I felt really out of place because I had taken, hard courses. I was into computer science, but my skill level was not up to par with
Our
these
school
kids.
didn't even offer AP computer science.
Yeah.
I mean, you self-taught everything. My big thing wasn't even, I guess, like the STEM knowledge. It was more so because Harvard and Yale are liberal arts schools. So a lot of these kids are extremely well-spoken and cultured. And that's not to say I'm not articulate or I wasn't cultured or well-spoken back then. But compared to some of these other kids who went to like Boston Latin, Stuyvesant, whatever, they just came in with an energy that I didn't reach yet.
I think like a worldview that's just much more comprehensive and filled in.
Because quite objectively, I love our hometown and everything it's given me, but it gives you a narrow, like you said, worldview. And I was very tunnel visioned on what I thought the world looked like and what, people were like and what diversity meant. I had no idea what diversity meant.
And I think from a sheer diversity perspective, like I love our hometown. I think it gave us a lot growing up, but quite frankly, we were like the only brown kids.
Yeah, I don't know
only few.
Yeah, like I can count on my fingers like the amount of people of color in our hometown.
Yeah, and so I think there was like this divide in terms of expectations, divide in terms of who we were versus the people we were like mingling amongst, before we had enrolled in any of these schools, which sort of led to this brewing tension, I would say. Do you think between your visitation weekends, was there, so obviously I'm guessing Harvard stood out to you, but did you notice a difference? Did you feel a difference that led you towards,
I'll say this, and I haven't really talked about this to anybody.
What do I mean?
Harvard's visitation days didn't stick out to me. I enjoyed Yale's visitation days a lot more than Harvard's visitation days. I could explain why for a few reasons. For one thing, Yale is very close to us as our hometown. We visited, or it's not our hometown, but it's near our hometown. I visited the campus a few times beforehand. I kind of knew the area, so that allowed me to connect with other students a bit easier and better. 'Cause at that time, I wasn't the most social guy, so like having that kind of thread as a connector, like, oh, I know the best place for this. Yeah, I'm from the area, whatever. It was cool. I met a lot of cool people that way. I had like a group that I traveled with and went to the fairs, went to classes, which was cool. At Harvard, I don't think it was anything about Harvard specifically, but I didn't have like a group at Visitas that I was doing things with. I was just kind of soloing everything, going back and forth. And it just felt like a bit isolating. And it had me worrying, like, is this what, like, if I choose to enroll here, is this what it's going to be like? And once again, a lot of that was on me, just being intimidated by the types of people I thought I would meet, because, you know, Harvard, pretentious, puffy. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to just go up to someone and sound stupid, right? That's the imposter syndrome coming through. But for all intents and purposes, I had a much better time at Yale. And Harvard's visitation days were at the end of April, which they do purposely because the weekend before May 1st, which is the actual commitment deadline, Harvard always puts their visitation days right at the end.
Back to back.
So they're the last college you visit if you're deciding between a few. From an objective point of view, I should have chosen Yale based off the visitation days, but obviously that's not what you should base your entire decision off of. At the end of the day, at that time, it came down to the fact that I didn't want to reject Harvard. I didn't want to live. No, that makes it sound so dramatic. I didn't want to
live knowing that you had turned them down.
That's like it's making it seem like this is so all or nothing, right? Which it isn't, which we could talk more about. But turning down Harvard I just couldn't do it.
That's a great point, because I wanted to ask this earlier. So we had expectations about the students and the environment. What were your expectations about what you would get out of these schools? Because it kind of sounds like that might have played a factor into why you ended up choosing Harvard.
Yeah.
Like, despite the experience at Visitas, did you feel that Harvard was going to give you like a better life, a better job prospect?
Like Harvard's like psychology program there, I mean, it's top notch. It's hard to beat. Not to say Yale's isn't. Yale's is also, once again, both liberal arts schools. They both had great academic programs. Going into college, what I wanted to get out of it was just a really high paying job. Objectively, I'm like, sorry, I just wanted a lot of money, because we didn't exactly grow up the most wealthy, right? We're first generation students. So going into college, I wanted a high paying job. And obviously every news outlet reports that you get the most money out of Harvard. Well, MIT actually, I think, but that was like for STEM kids, and I wasn't STEM.
Yeah, so, amongst the Ivy League, Harvard always, I remember seeing a chart just like outranks everything.
Which, and a lot of my decision back then came down to the fact that Harvard's Harvard. Like that's a sentence that I like kept repeating to myself, and it was tough to, it's very persuasive. Harvard is Harvard.
I think that's so funny. It sounds a little pretentious. It sounds pretty pretentious.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You expect an 18-year-old kid not to, be swayed by some of these factors, such as prestige, ranking, aura, and everything. And you shouldn't, to an extent, but financial aid at both of these colleges were the same, so that wasn't a factor. So it came down to academics. They're both top schools. That wasn't too much of a factor either. What else did I have to really go off of?
Yeah.
Like, it came down to the fact Harvard's Harvard. At that time, that was my thought process. But what about you? What were you thinking about when you were applying? Like, what career prospects or job prospects? What motivated you?
I knew I wanted to, at a high level, be in computer science. Most likely to become a software engineer. I think that was the traditional path that I had considered. And just knowing that MIT
it's a very unique path nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. And then knowing that MIT had that strong computer science program, I just felt like it would be the best route to getting a high-paying tech job. But the funny thing about tech is that I think it's one of those fields where your school doesn't matter as much as it does in a field like finance or banking. And I feel like in a field like tech, your hard skills can carry you a lot more than, the name of your school. But MIT doesn't hurt, so.
Okay, so follow up on that. Let's jump to August of 2017 when you moved in. You're finally doing a few classes, whatever, first few weeks. How is that jump for you?
Okay, so freshman year, I get to MIT, I move in, and one of the first things I noticed, it's very easy to make friends. Or really? It was easier.
Good. We were worried because when we moved you in, you were crying a lot, and so was Cheyenne, which is really funny. Yeah. Our mom, obviously. Our dad was just like, good handshake, and he was ready to go. And I was just kind of standing there like why is everyone like?
Yeah, you were very stoic. Within the first week, there was a lot going on in the first few weeks of college. So it was orientation, which felt like lasted like an entire week, and then right after that was rush, which is when a lot of the MIT freshmen start joining fraternities, sororities, and I immediately got swooped up into that because Rush is like it's a huge thing at MIT. Around 60% of the guys are part of frats.
Which is so interesting because you just wouldn't expect MIT to be
not
a rushing frat school.
Yeah, no. And also like the frats at MIT aren't like what you see at state schools at all. They're very different. They're way nerdier. But the events that these frats throw on are so intense and just so out there. I remember there were frats throwing like skydiving events, paintball, just free food nonstop everywhere.
Did you skydive?
I didn't skydive. No, I mean I missed that event. I heard about it after it happened. That sort of energy on campus just made it so easy to just bounce around and meet people. Yeah. And like during those first few weeks, you're almost not even thinking about the academic pressure that's about to ensue. But then also academically, during freshman fall, MIT has something called PNR, which stands for Pass No Record. So essentially, you take a class, you get above a C, great. You pass and it shows up as a P on your transcript. If you fail the class, it just disappears. There is no record of it at all. And so that just eases up so much tension just coming into a school like MIT where you have time to get used to the rigor, to this new style of learning, to how to ask for help, how to leverage resources, because those are like learning how to learn properly and for yourself. That's a whole skill that you have to learn once you get into college and go to a rigorous school. So I'm glad that I just had the time to do that.
So what classes did you take freshman year? I know you said you don't remember a lot, but there were some like base requirements, right? Of like science, physics, chem, stuff you had to take.
Yeah. So for example, I had to take physics, intro to physics. There was a chemistry course that I took, intro to solid state chemistry. There was a creative writing class that I took.
They make you take this?
You're supposed to take humanities courses, or I believe 8 HAS courses they call them throughout your time. And so most freshmen take one.
Okay.
And then I feel like there was something else that I'm forgetting about.
Did you not take a computer science course?
I took that my second semester freshman year.
So you had no comp sci courses freshman fall?
I don't believe so.
Probably took some like calc or math, right?
Math. I took 1801. Yeah. 1801A, which is...
Those numbers don't mean anything to them or me.
Everything at MIT is a number. All the classes, all the courses, all the classes, all the majors, and all like the buildings.
What was your major? You want to tell them? Just tell them the number. Don't even tell them what you...
614 and 15.2. Go figure out what that is. Yeah, have fun.
Figure it out in common what it is.
Yeah. So, yeah. Overall, good impressions. What about you when you went to Harvard? What was your first impression?
Academically or like everything?
Hey guys, you've been watching for a while. If you haven't already, be sure to check out Next Admit if you want college essay feedback from Ivy League consultants in as little as 24 hours.
We also launched an SAT bootcamp, so if your SAT score is mid, check that out.
All right, back to our desks. After we moved you into campus and the second we left, like what was going through your head? Like what was the first impression you had?
First impression? I think it's also important to caveat that you had no roommates.
Oh, that's a good point. I had a single my freshman year and my sophomore year and my junior year and my senior year. I had a single the entire time.
Which sounds great, and it is great, especially I think later on. I always think the best setup is a single within a larger suite.
Yeah, I agree.
But I didn't get that for a while. My freshman year, I had 3 roommates, so 4 total and 2 doubles in a common room. So 1 bedroom, common room, 1 bedroom. My roommates were, I think having roommates freshman year, especially if you're someone who's a little less extroverted, a little less likely to go out and meet people on your own, is super important. Super cool. Because they're basically built-in friends. I mean, if you get unlucky and you don't like them, it sucks. But if you get lucky, one of my best friends now was my freshman year roommate. So, and they could just bring you to their own events. You just kind of follow them. You kind of become a group, a clique freshman year, which formed very quickly, which is kind of the big thing, I think, as freshmen. Is like, oh my God, I need to form a group. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
People start coalescing so fast.
Yeah. And we didn't have, as freshmen, any rush process or any frats. We had what we call, because we're Harvard, we call them final clubs, which is a process that doesn't begin until sophomore year.
I was about to say that doesn't happen freshman year, if I recall. Okay.
And I will maybe touch upon that later. But for freshmen, the big thing we had to do to socialize is going to a place called Annenberg, or as I like to call it, Berg, which is you've probably seen it, our Hogwarts-like freshman year dining hall, which is the one dining hall for all freshmen on campus. So all freshmen for all 3 meals go to this dining hall. And it genuinely looks like Hogwarts. And you've been there many times.
You were about to say it's called Annenberg. I call it Berg, and I was about to be like, I call it Hogwarts, because it's crazy how
Everyone
it looks
always,
like it's straight out of the Harry Potter movie.
If you see every viral Harvard TikTok, someone's probably filming at that dining hall. They're like, and everyone is like, oh my God, is that Hogwarts?
How's the food though?
Mid. Genuinely, that's my biggest gripe. And that's the biggest gripe with a lot of Harvard students, is that we have a large endowment and, we pay a lot of money, but the food is just, it depends on the house. Freshman year, because they have to feed so many people, it's not the best, but it's doable. I will say, I've never I'm not going to eat today. No. I think people who do that are doing too much. They eat the food. It's not as good.
It's not inedible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as good as your mom's cooking, but it's good food. It's unlimited food. So it's fine, whatever. But yeah, Berg was the place to socialize, because that's where everyone goes at least twice a day if you don't want to spend all your money on food. So that was a social hub. So I wasn't in there as much as I should have been. That's something I've been telling our younger brother, who's going to start Harvard this fall, is that Berg is your place. Maximize your time there. Like, even once you're done with meals, if you want to bring out a laptop and work there, because odds are someone's going to come into the seat next to you and you strike up a conversation. And the first 3 weeks of freshman year, that's what you should be doing, is just striking up conversations with everybody, like peers, with your professors, with TAs, with everybody. Talk to as many people as possible, right? I think that is the number one piece of advice.
I think this advice about just sitting down in Berg, notice how he said, like, just be in Berg. He didn't even say, like, be in Berg, like, trying to walk around, like, meeting people, because that might be a bit, like, overbearing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of, like, meeting people is just a matter of being present, just being there, being in a place where there's a lot of movement, a lot of people walking around.
Inevitably, the conversation will strike up, even if you're not actively seeking it out, because sometimes that even is a bit too much. You don't have the social battery for it, other people don't have the social battery for it. You kind of got to read the situation, but just being in that environment alone, you will form friendships, you will form conversations, you will learn something new about a new type of person from a different country. So freshman year, I definitely didn't do that as much. That's a regret I have. That's a learning I have that I've been passing on to my younger brother for his time. But having roommates really helped me.
Coming back to your roommate point, I wanted to say, the special part about college is that your first set of roommates that you have, like your freshman year, I wouldn't say they're randomized per se, because you can still, like, talk to them maybe through the summer.
A lot of colleges allow you to pick roommates. Yeah. So a lot of people DM people like, hey, I see you're interested in such and such, you want a roommate.
But I think the special part even then is that you don't fully know the person. So there's still, like, this sense of, like, getting to know them, getting to know someone new who can introduce you to, like, a bunch of perspectives. I feel like in later years of college, that's when you start rooming with people that you now know, 100%. Or close friends.
Yeah,
and so like, having that slight degree of randomness your freshman year,
I think is important.
It's so great.
I think it's cool
because it introduces you to circles you otherwise never would have stumbled upon. Yeah.
And for us, we filled out a housing form the summer before our freshman year, and then the housing lottery administrators put people together. So it wasn't, like, completely randomized. There was still some thought into, like, okay, these people want this many roommates. These are morning people. Blah blah blah. So it wasn't totally randomized, but I got a pretty good group.
Yeah. That's the one thing I regret, is not having roommates. I feel like...
Which is for you, because that was a priority. I remember back in the day, even for mom and you were like, oh, we want a single.
So that's why for me, making friends required a lot of effort. I really had to try.
It's very easy to just be in your room.
It's so easy and especially given who I was senior year. I mean, I like to say I was an ambivert. I was maybe leaning more towards being I was an introvert. Fine. I was an introvert my senior year of high school.
It's not a dirty word.
I know.
It's not a dirty word. I promise you it's not. There are a lot of people watching this who would classify themselves as an introvert.
Yeah. I feel like maybe I have I have to, like, unlearn a bunch of associations with the word introvert, because I feel like...
Introvert doesn't mean you're socially inept. By the way, that's a completely separate thing. If you're socially inept, you're socially inept. You could be socially inept and extremely talkative, right? That's the thing.
Put me on a podcast where we just talk about the definition of introvert versus extrovert. I will talk for like 3 hours. But yes, so that's why when I got to college, I was like, wow, I have to make a very strong concerted effort to leave my room and to go say hi and to like trek across campus to go to this weird burger event by this one frat and talk to 3 random dudes that, you know, at one time too, because I'm going on a tangent here.
No, it's very important. No, I think this is probably the strongest point we'll make throughout the entire video. We'll touch upon everything else, but I just think going into college, really willing to try things, because this it's a time you could fully reinvent yourself. Like if you don't like yourself now,
don't like yourself.
No, like if there are aspects of yourself that you don't like, but you feel anchored down by, it's too late to change. Everyone already knows who I am. Well, you're going into a new environment where you know nobody. You could literally be whoever you want to be. And a lot of life is fake it till you make it. So if you want to be more social, if you want to be that guy, who makes the jokes in a friend group, whatever, you could be that guy. Just take the mindset on, take that like archetype on, like, oh, I am this guy, and you will be that guy. Because so much of life is I am this, so I will be this. So if you're telling yourself, I am quiet, I am not funny, I am embarrassing, you are going to act in accordance with that belief. So when you go into college, you need to change your beliefs fundamentally, and you will see how much you'll grow. And that is the most important thing I will tell you today. Maybe you'll have something more important.
Fake it till you make it is the golden rule.
Is the mantra of life.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, I need to, that's not to say fake,
it's not
fake enthusiasm, don't be who you are.
Yeah, asterisk here, like to fake it till you make it does not mean to put on like a totally fabricated persona and to like lie to people or to be deceptive about your true nature. No, it's just to sort of maybe emphasize certain qualities that maybe were a bit like subdued before, or to bring out a side of your personality that you haven't.
That is something I really bought into senior year of college, which is when I became much more social. I became much more, I feel comfortable with people. At that point, my mentality literally was, this is senior year, nothing matters. I'm just going to say stuff and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
But freshman year, that was not my mentality. And I think at Harvard, it's so difficult because I'll say most people there are extremely charismatic. I think that is the big thing that sets apart like Harvard from MIT. In no offense, that's just a general truth. I think is that you guys would probably beat us at an intellect level, but in terms of how to kind of like socialize,
suave.
We're very suave people. But freshman year, my roommates were very suave. Like all three of them were big, strong personalities. And you'll kind of find when you're in a group, everyone can't have that.
You can't have a bunch of like, it's cringe to say this, but like just alpha personalities.
Yeah, you can't. Because then you start seeing some type of tensions.
Yeah. So
a lot of times I always took the back seat in terms of, they have a strong opinion on what to do or what to go, or like in a political belief or a belief on like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just to not cause strife or whatever, which I think is a bad thing to do. I think you should really stand your ground and stick up for yourself and say opinions. But freshman year me, in that Harvard environment with people that I thought were, already more suave than me, more charismatic, I kind of took a back seat. And that was my biggest regret, kind of alongside the not socializing thing aspect of starting college.
And that's the one reason why I am grateful that I went to MIT, because as you touched upon, two drastically different universes when it comes to that front, like the people.
And it gets to a negative degree. Harvard students are a bit performative in how they speak, and you can kind of see through them. Because I think on average I don't know what like pronoun to use when I'm speaking on
adjective or
pronoun.
Oh,
when I'm speaking about like Harvard students, like where I don't want to.
Oh, because you're not. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are a lot of social climbers at all elite universities, but I think a lot more at Harvard than MIT.
Totally.
I think there's a lot more like competitiveness between every aspect of life, not just academics and career, but just wealth in terms of like sociability, coolness, whatever you want to call it. That MIT, you don't really have that. So people aren't always trying to put up this like facade of I'm so put together, I'm so whatever. It doesn't matter to them.
I think at Harvard, it's like cool to be cool, whereas at MIT, it's cool to be passionate about something.
Fair. Yeah.
I think at MIT, the sort of signal of status is almost like how intellectually invested you are in what you're studying, or how passionate you are about certain fields, and how you let yourself to just like nerd out about certain subjects. Like that's, I think, the main thing students admire about each other. And that's why I feel like MIT was a great environment for me to grow socially, because I wasn't surrounded by a bunch of people that were just gonna like
dominate the conversation.
Yeah, sort of like that. And so it gave me a space where I was actually for once, but I guess at that point in my life to be in an environment where I was like the most extroverted or the most outgoing, or sort of had a lot of sway in these like group dynamics. And it was like a skill set that I sort of honed my freshman year and kept honing through my time in college.
Yeah, which is super important. And don't get me wrong, I had a great time at Harvard. I had great friends. I found, for even freshman year, I mean, once, like I said, my roommate was my best friend even now, and I found a lot of great people. But even being in that environment, that cutthroat environment, the social environment, it really forced me to be better. Because, you know, that's not to say like, oh, everyone's so fake, whatever, I'm going to do my own thing and like I'm better this way. Because I was lacking, you know, on a few fronts there. So, you know, I took some of the skills I saw and I picked up on it and I enhanced them, and you know, I got better, like you said.
So then back to the impressions. You mentioned social climbers. Were there any other immediate impressions you had of Harvard students?
Yeah, there are a shit ton of rich people here. Like there is real wealth. Like I don't know what wealth was, dude. Like I will say, growing up, my definition of wealth is that if you made $100K a year, you were rich.
I always thought
100K was the goal.
Yeah.
Even in like freshman year of high school, I was like, I want to go to college, get $100K a year job, and then just make it, dude. And just getting to campus, you soon realize that 100K is a lot of money, but for a lot of people, 100K is not a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of people, $1 million is not a lot of money. And, you know, I'm not going to, like, I didn't know a lot of the super wealthy personally, although there were billionaire freshmen there. Obviously not them themselves, but their families. You kind of tell because word gets around, and you know you realize someone's last name is also on a building, and then you're like, oh damn,
yeah,
they must be. Then they're very easily Googleable. But I think just realizing that, oh my God, there is an insane amount of class difference here, which is not a bad thing necessarily, because I think having conversations with, being friends with, whatever, is still very possible across income classes, financial, social classes, whatever. And I learned a lot of really interesting, cool things about how people grew up, but it was definitely very eye-opening. Oh my God, I was really poor.
And it's like you see the stereotypes of rich people, but it kind of offers you a perspective into like their life in a way that you won't even see on social media or in media, and you're like, wow, like this is actually how you lived. I didn't get much of that at MIT. I think at MIT there are people from wealthier backgrounds.
Dude, there are some people who would just like, you go on their Instagram during the week. I'm in like my introduction to economics course, and these people are in Italy. I'm like, we're in the same class. Like, why are you in Italy right now?
Yeah. And I think you see a lot of that also, like NYU, USC. There's like certain schools, not even
NYU,
even non-Ivy schools, where you have a high concentration of people who just 100% live that sort of life.
But I also knew, I knew people freshman year. I didn't realize this until later. They were stupidly rich. Like they're stupidly rich, but you wouldn't know from talking to them. And like, I got like pretty close to these people. You know, you never really directly ask about, you know, just it's not a thing to do. You don't ask people, oh, how much money you have, what's your family do, whatever. You kind of, you know, you just make friends with that person. But there were people that I knew, total chiller is stupid rich. Those are my favorite type of people though.
The people, yeah.
Not because they're rich, but because they're humble and everything that they have.
Yeah, those people are the best. Like the people who move in such a way where you don't even know what they're up to, what they've done.
And that's like both like financially, but also academically, also just like career success. Like the super smart people too. Like I knew people who took Math 55, the hardest undergraduate math course in the country. I made the video first.
You did, but then I made the long form.
Like I knew people who took that course freshman year. I talked to them, and they were just so chill. We're just boys. We're just boying out, like using slang, talking, whatever. And they're just miles ahead of me in terms of like math.
That's the exact experience I had in my fraternity. So I ended up joining a fraternity, not immediately freshman year. I think it was sophomore fall. But that aside, there were a few brothers in the house that it took me maybe a year to realize that had IMO medals from their respective countries. There was one from, I think, like Argentina, one from Brazil. There was like one from Mexico as well, I remember. And I was like, holy crap, there's three. I knew that there was like some smart math dudes in this frat, but the fact that we had like three either silver or gold IMO medalists,
cracked, yeah.
It blew me away because in general conversation,
That doesn't come up.
yeah, you feel such a genuine connection and bond, but then you realize that if we're headed to lecture, like their mind is just operating on a whole different echelon.
Yeah, they're not going to class with you. They're going to the
they're
grad
going
school, whatever. They're not coming. They're not coming with you. And it's insane. It's cool. It's very cool. Like I said, having that shift in experience from where we grew up to having that diverse experience there, I think is so valuable, and it was so valuable for both of us to just have those interactions with people that are representative of.
And it's so motivating. It's very motivating because you don't understand what you're capable of or what's even possible until you see other people do it.
Yeah.
I think a reason why I also got really invested into entrepreneurship is because of someone I met my freshman year. This was during orientation. During orientation, and it's funny how you mentioned how word gets around about certain people and who they are, where they come from. I was hearing a lot of buzz about this one guy who was at MIT, but was always traveling the world because he had built a startup and sold it for $100 million. And I was like, that is
Fair enough.
insane. And so I go to this one orientation event and I happen to run into this guy without even knowing it at first. He just starts talking about his work and how he's taken 4 gap years and how he founded a startup and then how it got acquired. And I was like, holy crap, are you so-and-so? And he's like, yeah, how did you hear about me? I'm like, well, from multiple people, like all day pretty much. And so then we got to chatting, and then I just hear about his journey from undergrad, founding a startup in undergrad, leveraging a bunch of campus resources, then just going all in, taking a bunch of gap years, making it work, making a ton of money. And I was like, holy crap, this is sort of the path that I want to try taking. And that path of entrepreneurship, of founding a startup, of getting venture capital, for example, that's a whole ecosystem / world we did not even know existed in our hometown. And this is a separate aside, but what's really funny to me is that at Cheon's Harvard dinner for accepted students, so me and Mahad went, we talked to a bunch of the other Harvard kids that had gotten in this year. There were kids who have been in VC since their freshman year of high school. And I was like, how is that even possible? And he was talking about VC as if he were a partner himself, and it blew my mind. But yeah, once again, just to say that once you go to college and meet these people, you realize what worlds exist out there and what you can do and how you can, make the best for yourself as well.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing, is that it's not like these top schools are only picking amongst the people who have that VC experience, because we went there as well. So it's cool they're cultivating a class of diverse experiences, because we might have not had the most diverse upbringing, but we had our own experiences that a lot of these other kids didn't have, right?
Oh yeah,
our childhood, the store, everything. I don't know if we ever touched on that.
Our stories and our passions, they were very distinct, and they added to the campus environment and culture.
Yeah. So even from their perspective, they're also getting this awakening of, there are people with this type of story, this type of upbringing and everything. So that's cool. College, I think in general is a cool melting pot, but the top schools I feel are a bit unique in terms of how
distinguished everyone is
academically.
Yeah.
Thank God I got there.
Speaking of being distinguished academically, I think we've only talked about the social environment so far. There's
a lot to talk about.
Yeah, when it comes to the social environment.
I still have so much.
I think your stories are so interesting.
We've only broached on the not even freshman year, the first 2 weeks of freshman year socially.
Yeah.
There's a lot to touch on, but if you want to make this whole episode just socially, we could.
We could. I think maybe we'll just do that.
I'm about to ask, do you guys, how are they
I was about to say,
it's not a live stream.
I know. I mean, because you mentioned final clubs too, right? I feel like maybe that's something that we kind of want to get to. Like, that would be so fun to talk about, but I feel like...
Let's do that later. Let's do that in a different episode.
Okay, you guys have to wait. You guys have to subscribe then to get to that.
I have a lot of stories about, my time at Harvard. I also want to make it clear that we're not like glorifying these schools or putting them on pedestals. These are just our experiences that we had because these are the only universities we went to. So we can only talk about them.
And they were so profound in contrast to how we had grown up. So that's why you're hearing us talk about it with such like...
But I don't want to make this seem like, oh, these schools had such different people and construe that as, oh, other schools don't. Or like this is like exclusive to top schools to Ivy League. It's not. It's just my experience. I have nothing. I can't share anything else.
And that's exactly why I mentioned NYU and USC as well, because I don't want to make it seem like this is like a Harvard Ivy only thing.
It's not, but it's like,
there are a bunch of schools that have rich kids. Like rich kids are kind of at a bunch of different colleges.
Like there are like, stupidly smart and like artistic and creative and like, articulate people at every facet of like school life, community, college, whatever. This is not supposed to be some type of like, oh my God, privileged take on how Harvard is so unique and like only people. No. So I don't want that to come across that way. But this is just my experience. So I'm going to talk about it that way.
And so then back to the academics then. How was that for you?
For me,
first impressions?
I will say MIT has grade deflation, right? MIT is just MIT. You will never hear me compliment.
Never hear me compliment
and I won't even now. But they suffer from something called grade deflation, which means it is very hard to get good grades in their courses. Harvard allegedly has.
Not allegedly. It has. Say it proudly.
They have the opposite.
There's a news article right here. I'll evidence.
I'm not going to edit that in. So
I'll edit that in.
They have the opposite of what you call grade deflation.
Say the word.
Which means it's a bit.
Say what it is.
Some people say it's easier to get like an A in a Harvard class, or like the average grade is an A minus, and that's evidence for grade inflation. I just think we're all super smart. Of course, we're gonna get A's. In terms of like the grading, I did okay. I did fine, but that doesn't mean the classes themselves weren't much harder than what I experienced in my high school. But my freshman year, I'll just quickly walk you through my my fall schedule. It was a statistics analytics course for like behavioral sciences. It was an expository writing course, which was required. It was an introduction to psychology course, which was required of all psych majors, concentrators. And it was an introduction to microeconomics course. So a lot of intro courses because Harvard doesn't take any AP credit, so it's not like you could test out of these courses. So I had to take...
They don't take any at all?
Not for credit.
Interesting. Okay, I think ours is similar.
You didn't get any credit either. It's not like you could like pass out and save money on a course.
You can like enroll in like an accelerated
version. I think you could do
course,
that.
But yeah.
Like, I could have enrolled in an accelerated version if I was accelerated. But I wasn't accelerated enough for my econ courses because I didn't take an advanced econ class in high school. So a lot of intro courses, but even then, I think the biggest difference for me was just the sheer size of some of these courses and the logistics of how they're run. So econing, for example, Ec 10A, I think the second or third largest course offered on Harvard because so many freshmen take it. 400 or 500 people, 600 people maybe. I don't know. So it meets twice weekly in our biggest lecture hall called Sanders Theater, which is connected to Annenberg. So just being in a course with that many people was just insane compared to 15 to 20 people all my life in a class. So that meant for lecture twice a week. And then we had, I think every college has this, what we call sections, which is basically an additional class in a week of smaller sections of students. So this is where you get your 15 students and you're assigned to a TA, a teacher's assistant, which is basically an upperclassman who took the course before. So I had that lecture twice a week and then a section, which is when you actually, in econ, it was debating or going over a problem set or just kind of honing in on what the week's material was about. But just having that kind of setup was very interesting. Because at a certain point I realized that lectures are recorded.
Yep, there we go.
Which is dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
And I'll tell you why is it dangerous.
Because the second you opt for a recorded lecture over going to lecture
You
in
are
person,
never going to lecture in person.
yeah, it's done. It's over. Like you're just gonna be waking up late every single day. You'll tell yourself that you'll watch the lecture recording that afternoon, but then you won't, and then you'll never watch it, and then you'll find yourself playing like 5 lectures at 4x speed, back to back, like the day before midterm, and it's really terrible.
I guess that's the biggest difference in high school and college academics, is that if you don't go to school in high school, you don't go to class, your parents get a call at home. If you don't show up to your lecture in college, nobody gives a shit.
That's just you, in essence, wasting your tuition money.
That's you like flushing your money down the toilet and screwing yourself over. But it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and pretend I went to every lecture in my 4 years.
As soon as sophomore year began, even towards like later freshman year, I just started relying so heavily
on lecture recordings.
Yeah.
Which is, once again, it ties back into the fact that if you don't want to leave your room, you don't have to, and it's bad and it's dangerous. So once you realize you can do class from your room,
yeah.
Once you realize you have Uber Eats, it's really hard to get out of your room some days.
I think I already touched upon most of my academic experience. So we had PNR, which sort of made it.
What does that mean, though? Like, so you didn't try, or you tried?
That's a good question. So it really depends on the student. I think because college was such, and as it is for everyone, it was such a different and novel experience for me. I definitely could have tried harder in my courses. I'll say that for sure.
I can say that for sure.
And that's why my spring semester was when I really had to rein things in a bit.
Because there was actual stakes.
Yeah. Well, even then, it wasn't pass no record, but it was
pass fail.
I forget what it was. ABC no record. So I think at that point you have grades, or you have ABC.
They're really baby, you guys.
But then you still have the no record component. So if you fail the course, you're still.
So you could theoretically have done a whole year at MIT with nothing under your belt if you failed everything, no record at everything. Theoretically,
but I'm sure at that point administration is getting
in.
involved and doing something. Yeah. I think to your point, lectures were a lot larger. I had to learn how to take exams better, how to become a better test taker, because what I very quickly realized after my first 801, which is my intro physics course exam, was that there is no multiple choice on any of these things at all. Yeah. Everything is open-ended and requires you to synthesize lessons from a bunch of different lessons at once and a bunch of different concepts.
It's not just memorizing.
No, it's very like creative, intelligent problem solving. And a lot of these exams will have maybe just like 5 to 7 questions, and you'll have like 3 full hours to answer them, because each question is so involved and intricate and takes so many steps. And that's why you have to rely heavily on partial credit. But the funny part about these exams is that you'll take one of these exams, you'll walk out of it feeling like it was the hardest thing ever. You're just like, what even was that? You'll talk amongst your friends and other students.
You do that? I hate doing that after an exam.
It's so anxiety inducing. It's the worst feeling ever.
Dude, sometimes it'll happen. I'll be walking out the lecture hall and I'll overhear people having conversation, and I'll start tweaking.
The post-exam breakdowns are the worst, but they're so hard to avoid.
Yeah,
like the second you step out of like an exam hall, you're like, okay, what did you get? What did you think? How was it?
I didn't do that. I couldn't do it.
That's
when they get the Canvas notification when I'm at a frat party.
When you get at a party,
It genuinely happened. I know it's a meme, but it genuinely happened. And that was at an MIT frat party.
It's the worst timing. It's so...
No, I did well.
Oh, you did well.
So the night got better.
Yeah, exactly. But the funny part about these exams is you'll have these discussions. You'll think it's the worst thing ever. You'll look at the results and someone got 100. You're like, who is this guy?
He was like breaking the curve.
And it'll show you the distribution, and it's like one guy, 100. Everyone else, 50 and below.
You know what we call him? That guy?
What?
The curve buster. But that's the funny thing about these exams, especially for STEM, is that the average is like a 47. And you'll get like an A minus.
Yeah.
Because you're graded on a curve relative to the class. Because if you were graded on absolutes of 90 to 100 as an A, you're failing every STEM course ever in college.
That's such a weird way to like think about grading and performance, because in high school, we never had a curve.
No.
Ever, for anything. And so I was just so used to fundamentally getting like a 90 or above on every assignment.
Yeah, you have to get every question right because... Yeah.
And so it's like a big hit to the ego to see that, you don't know everything and like won't know everything, no matter how hard you try, how
Well,
hard
someone
you study.
did. You said.
Well, someone did, yeah. Someone somehow all the time is gonna have that like perfect score or near perfect score, but
The mean is always down there.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice, right, to be graded on a curve. Otherwise, we would be screwed.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that you're also amongst people who like
Failed.
yeah,
Right,
to a degree.
Failed, I guess. Yeah, no, we had multiple choice questions, though, I wanted to say.
Really?
I think STEM doesn't, but my econ exams, my psych exams, granted, there were like 5 options, a lot of options, but it was half multiple choice, half written. But we had some still. Well, freshman year, then as you move on.
Yeah.
The advanced econ class, it didn't.
And then even if you don't do well in these exams or on these problem sets, the great part that Mahad touched upon was having TAs, just having overall resources that can support you academically.
Yeah, but once again, it goes back to the fact that you have to take advantage, and it's very easy not to go to office hours. It's very easy not to ask a TA.
Yeah. No.
I didn't go to office hours once freshman year.
Really?
I just couldn't be bothered.
Office hours are a cheat code because you can ask for help and then a lot of the time they'll just give you the answer. Like they'll just do the problem for you on the board in front of everyone. And you actually get to learn too. It's not like they're just giving you the answer, but they're giving you like a detailed explanation.
It depends how tired that TA is.
Yeah.
Genuinely, actually, I knew some. I had friends who served in TA capacities for some courses, and they would just be giving answers. They just couldn't be bothered. Like it's the truth. If you have a grad student as a TA, then they'll actually like force you to learn how to do it yourself. If it's like a sophomore, junior, undergrad, they can't be bothered, dude. Which, depending on what you want to get out of the class, it's either good or bad.
And again, that's another slippery slope. Like just watching lecture recordings or not even watching them and just going to office hours for like the PSAT answers and then going back. Like college is so much, it's so dependent on how you craft your experience and how you actually like extract the knowledge and value for yourself. Because you could theoretically coast through, or not coast through, but like BS your way through all these different aspects.
Oh, you could. I've seen people BS for 4 years. I have a very close friend who BS'd through 4 years, and I'll say it. It truly is a game. I think if you just, obviously, you got to work hard in some capacities, but you figure out where you can slack off in specific courses, because some courses are just so weighed heavily by exams that you could like not do the homework assignments or P sets, as you call them, which stand for problem sets, which basically how you want to define it. That's like a big term in college.
Problem sets is just like homework packets, just problems that you have to answer.
But you will like hear that term all 4 years, P set. But yeah, like you said, it's very easy to BS your way through if you're strategic about it.
Yeah, like as long as you have a grasp on the bigger picture that involves not just academics, but also, your career path and sort of what you want to do in the future. As long as you like understand what the pieces are and how you're playing each of them, you're fine. Like you just have to have a plan. That's what's most important. Whether or not you're like following the plan or doing everything perfectly, like that's not as important.
Like, I had friends who like didn't really care for the academics as much, but like we're putting in a lot of effort. We're going ham on networking, recruiting for jobs, which is what you're going to do after college. So it's it depends on how you view things and what you view as more important. For them, that was significantly more important than showing up to lecture all the time and completing every piece by themselves, which I'd argue is fair.
And another important part about studying in college is study groups are going to become a really important part of how you learn. In high school, sure, I had informal study groups, maybe if we were like...
I didn't have any study groups, man. Like, my friends sent like homework answers to each other, but it wasn't, I would say...
I honestly, that's sort of what I mean. Yeah, we barely ever actually got together to work on an assignment. But in college, I would say study groups are at the heart of how you finish and work on each assignment.
Yeah.
As soon as we have a problem set, me and my 3 to 4 friends, we're heading down to one of the dorms. We're going down to the basement, booking out like a room that has a whiteboard, and we're just
3 to 4. It's impressive, dude. I thought you had.
Thanks. Yeah. So we have we book out like one of those rooms with the whiteboard and just grind it out for like several hours on end.
Yeah.
And that's how it went for every single problem.
That's what you got to do to keep the morale up and vibes.
Oh,
otherwise, you'd
sure.
be locked.
And honestly, like it's funny when I think back to those times because those times were when I was at my lowest, just going through some problem sets I had no idea how to do. but I also have some of my fondest memories from college.
Some funny
And
times there.
It gets so funny past like 2, 3 a.m. because like
You're
everyone's a little
tweaking.
delusional.
Yeah, you're
Like
delusional.
everyone's losing their minds a little bit. And I have so many funny just like random Snapchat memories that I'll still get of us like just working at 4 a.m. Like one guy just standing on the table for no reason, or us eating McDonald's.
You're
At,
standing on the table, dude. You guys go crazy, dude.
We're not standing on the.
That you guys are crazy.
Oh wait, no.
That's,
Never
that's what I
mind.
want to capture.
Wait.
That is crazy for MIT.
Wait, I remember now. No, we were standing.
Was he dancing on the table?
He was standing on the table because there was a rat, but it wasn't just for the sake of standing on the table.
You should have clarified that. You're the one who said it.
Yeah. I forgot the context. Good times, bad times as well. What about you? Study groups or no?
With me, personally, I feel, and people have told me this, that I am tough to study with and work with. Because
true.
A lot of times I will just talk. Like if it's with my boys, I'll just talk and very little work gets done. So a lot of the times it just had to kind of be, okay, you do these parts, you do these parts, and let's reconvene after and talk about it. But to actually do the parts with them, it was tough for me. I'll admit that, because when I'm with people and I have a piece set in front of me, I'd rather much not do the piece set. That is one skill that I never developed in college. And
what, staying focused?
yeah,
Having focus?
Omar, if you're watching this, you'll know. Like we'll go to the library together, and I just won't get anything done. And he'll leave me there. Because I'm sorry, yeah, I was very distracted in college.
I think that goes for everyone. I think many times I would join these PSET groups and we'd do like one problem together, but then we realize, oh yeah, we have to split up for the rest. Because
well, a lot of times like, these people really wanted to get it done, and I'm just like, hey guys, what do you think about? Yeah, that's my fault, my bad. But I think study groups are very important, even whether it's you're doing the problems together or you're checking it over at the end and working on something together. You could text people, hey, what'd you get? That's very important to have, especially when it's like 9, 10, 11 and office hours are done and the PSET's due at midnight and you have no other resources.
Okay, so we just wrapped up talking about our first impressions of the social environment and of the academic environment. There's a lot more.
A lot more to say on personal experience front, on learnings, on growth, on relationships, parties. This is all. I mean, college is it's a can of worms. But Gohar is really hungry right now.
He's
genuinely tweaking out.
It's like nighttime now. I think we started recording when the sun was still out, like a little bit.
They'll see, yeah. It's gonna be a little time lapse thing. But if you guys enjoyed what we've been talking about so far, if you want to hear more about our college experiences, about what we learned, about the craziest things we've seen, comment. Let us know. Once again, let us know what your favorite part of the episode was.
Drop a paragraph of reflection, of thought. I know a lot of you guys left paragraphs in the last episode. Thank you for that. I read all of them. I haven't had the time to reply, but just know that it really means a lot. And thank you, everyone, for taking the assignment seriously.
And if you're not in college yet, if you're a college junior and you're applying to college this fall, then...
You're a high school junior, you mean?
If you're a high school junior, then check out Next Admit. Why should they check it out, Gohar?
Because we offer college essay reviews from Ivy League consultants in as little as 24 hours. And we also recently launched our SAT Bootcamp. Mm-hmm. Links for both of these things are in the description of this video.
And now that we've killed the entire retention of the video, we'll see you all next time.